Hey, Tipsy Babes, I'm Amber,
I'm Chloe.
and you're listening to the Two Tipsy Babes podcast, where we're sipping our way through life, travels, working in healthcare, and our favorite books. All right. So, we did a poll on Spotify and Instagram, I believe, on whether or not we should be doing shots before the show. So, like, before we actually get into the nitty gritty, should we be doing some shots? And it was pretty much a unanimous yes. I think we got 100% in both categories, or in both platforms. So we're going to be doing shots. Neither one of us have a shot glass. So
Mm-mm.
we're just going to
I have a wine
mason
glass.
jar.
Mine's in a wine glass.
Yeah. And everyone pay attention to how much alcohol is in Chloe's cup. She did not measure. She was
I don't
like,
measure. I eyeball it with my heart.
yeah, measure with your heart. I measured mine. Mine is actually a shot because
Now that I look at this, I'm like, oh my God.
yours is like two at least.
It has to be. Oh well.
Can you gulp that down in one?
No, but it's all going down. We'll see.
We'll figure it out. All right, you
We'll
ready
figure
then?
it out as we go. Okay, my shot is Malibu.
Mine is
And
bourbon.
right, cheers.
Cheers.
Ugh.
Okay, hold on. That was cute. That was cute.
Oh my God. Yeah, that was definitely more than one shot.
Okay.
Whew.
I can feel it
Sorry.
in my heart. I can feel it in my heart. It's burning everything as it's going down. I'm gonna have the cleanest esophagus ever. Oh, and it just hit my stomach.
Oh God.
I can feel it hitting my stomach. Everything is burning. We're good. This is good. Okay.
Are we good though?
Eh, eh. This is about to be
I'm
a fun
already dr- I'm
conversation. Are
already
your
drinking. I'm already drinking my drink, and I didn't even say what I'm drinking. Am I what? Am
oh
I tearing
I-
up? Yeah, I'm tearing up because my throat is on. My throat
ah,
hurts.
no, are your balls melted?
I'm so sad. Okay, guys, listen. We've had some technical difficulties, and I had the cutest freaking balls in here, and it took so long. It took 40 minutes for us to figure it out, and now my balls are itty bitty. Look at that. It's so sad.
That is frustrating. Ugh,
They were
fucking
so
itty bitty
cute.
balls. They
No
were
one
cute.
likes itty
They were
bitty balls.
some cute balls.
They
They
were.
were. Yeah.
And I was so
Yeah.
excited to show everybody, but at least they're still there.
You get the gist though. It
Yeah.
everyone gets it. Yeah. They were
Okay.
they you can tell like they're even cuter now. They're just tiny.
No one likes tiny balls, Amber.
Okay. Well, I'm trying to, help you out here. Okay. Well, I have no balls, but what are you
I'm
drinking now
glad
that
you
we've talked
don't
about
have any balls. I hope you
Oh,
have other kind of balls like ovaries, but
yeah, I do. Oh, that's what we're talking about. I was talking about ice, girl.
sure.
But what are you drinking, Chloe? Because we haven't even talked about it yet.
Okay, so I know it doesn't look at like it, but it's a pink. It's supposed to be pink, but I think the balls made it more clear, kind of watered it down. So I'm
She's so
drinking.
cute.
It's still cute. Yeah, you're right. I'm drinking Malibu with white peach cranberry
Yum.
as my
Yeah.
mixer.
How is it good?
hmm
Good.
It's
Nice.
fantastic. It'd be better if my
I
big balls were there, but
Yeah,
it's okay.
yeah. That would improve the flavor if the big balls were there. Yeah.
Exactly. Maybe I'll wait until we start recording to put the balls in next time.
Yeah, maybe. I get you. I for a second there I thought you meant like recording right now and I'm like, "Are we not recording?" Okay.
Oh, no, no, no,
I
no.
was
When we're
I was like
actually ready.
okay, that makes sense. That makes
Okay,
sense.
what are you drinking?
I am drinking a brown sugar bourbon coffee.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
it's
where can
very
we
good.
find that recipe? That sounds delicious.
Yeah, I mean, I could link it below, but I kind of made it up. I sent you a recipe, but I also kind of just made it up. But yeah, I'll put it down below. The recipe will be there.
What
So
did you put it in? Because I'm sure our listeners would be interested
like to
to
know
hear.
where the, oh,
No,
what did I
what,
put in
how
it?
you made it. Yeah, like how you made it.
Okay. So the drink itself, so the actual bourbon is, I'm trying to read it. Horse Soldier, which is a really cool bourbon that my dad got me for Christmas. And it's signed. So Horse Soldier, little backstory. Horse Soldier, the bourbon itself is made by one of the first responders into Iraq when the war broke out,
Oh.
and they went on horseback. That was the fastest, most efficient way to enter combat, and they entered
Hmm.
on horseback. And so this bourbon is the company created by one of the NCOs that was that rode in on horseback into Iraq, which is super cool. So my dad, and it's signed by him too, which is cool.
No
So
kidding.
yeah, which is really fun, and it tastes really good. Although I don't know anything about bourbon, so I don't know if it tastes
Hmm.
better than others. It tasted fine to me, and it's burning my insides, so I'm sure that's good. Um, but yeah, so I used that bourbon. I just put an ounce and a half at the bottom of my cup. I made some stovetop coffee, like with a percolator, um, and I used Caribou coffee, and that's important because it is the best ground coffee I've ever had in my life.
Caribou?
Um, yeah, Caribou. I think it's called Lakeshore, which is, I
Hmm.
think, a medium roast, but it's very good. So I use that, and then I put about a tablespoon and a half of brown sugar into about a half a cup of half and half, heated that up, frothed it up. Once the coffee was done, I poured it straight into the bourbon, then poured in my half and half and brown sugar concoction, and then topped it off with some whipped cream. And
Mm,
here we go.
that
It
sounds
is very
delicious.
good. Honestly, it's the
Yeah.
best coffee I've ever had. I mean, you can only have it when you're, in the home, so you don't go out drinking, publicly, but it's very good.
That sounds delicious. Well,
Hmm.
actually, here in Louisiana and New Orleans, you can go out with an open container. So maybe
That's
not in
true.
maybe not in Missouri, but down here, everyone's
I
allowed to
don't
walk around.
I don't know if we're allowed to do that here. I do know you
Mm.
can get alcohol to go. Like I've gotten margaritas to go before, but you're not allowed to have an open container. Um, but yeah, we went and got like slushies or whatever, like alcoholics.
Daiquiris. So
Yeah,
New Orleans, well, Louisiana in general, they're known to have daiquiri shops, and they
yeah,
say you're not supposed to drink it while you're driving, but obviously a lot of people kind of,
yeah.
you know,
Because it's just a big like Route 66 cup with a
yeah.
slushy
Hmm.
daiquiri inside. It is, and it is so good.
It's
What
delicious.
I
It'll
think I
get
got
you
wedding
drunk
cake.
quick.
Yeah, I think I got a
Yeah.
wedding cake one, and it was so good. And
Uh-huh.
then, yeah, we had it over at your house, and I think I was drunk before we even like had dinner.
Really started drinking it too.
Yeah, yeah.
So if you're ever down in New Orleans, go through our drive-through daiquiris. They're
Yes.
very worth it.
10 out of
Don't
10.
recommend drinking and driving, but
Yeah, no,
please
we do
wait.
not
Or have
condone
someone
that. Be
else
safe.
drive you. Yep,
Yeah,
have someone
yeah,
else drive
for
you.
sure. Maybe Uber or something. But yeah, so we're gonna be talking about, all your balls are gone.
I know, they're so small. It's like I could
Ugh.
just munch on them. That's so sad.
Go ahead, munch on your balls, Chloe.
Then I have to like fish it out, and I don't want
Well,
to do
okay, now this is a rabbit hole.
that.
Okay, so today we're going to be reviewing one of the book that you got for me,
Atomic
um,
Habits.
Atomic Habits by James Clear. I loved this book, but before we kind of get into it and dive into it a little bit, on a scale of 1 to 5, like if you were rating it on Goodreads, what would you give this book?
Oh, a solid 5. It's
Really?
definitely a really good book, and you can always go back into it and read, you know, you don't have to read the entire book, but you can go back to different points and kind of digest it a little more and apply it into your daily life.
Hmm.
What about
I
you?
definitely agree. I don't know. I mean, I've never been a strict, like, some people are really stingy with how many stars they give books.
Mm-mm.
I would also give this a 5 star review. I have read a book that's similar to this. It's called The Slight Edge, and
Hmm.
it's very similar to this. It has the same concept, tiny habits create monumental change. But I would say that this book was almost better because the way that they broke it down was so simple. No part of it was hard to digest, and there was no part of it that was kind of rambling, like
Right.
just filler. It was all very applicable and very engaging. So yeah, I would also give this a 5-star review. I really enjoyed it.
And it's pretty
So
concise too. Like it's an
mhm.
easy read that anyone can just pick up and comprehend and apply it.
Yeah.
So,
I did a hybrid situation where I was kind of listening to it and reading it at the same time. And that's because I'm a visual slash audio learner. So that was the
mhm.
best way for me to approach it. And yeah, I loved it. The audiobook was great, reading it was great. And then going back and reviewing it so that I had, some solid notes, that was also great. So yeah, definitely 5 stars and a great choice for January.
So, what was your overall thought on that book?
I really enjoyed it. So I would say my overall, I was able to take what it was saying, and I can now when I'm moving throughout my day, I'm like, oh, well, how can I apply what I've learned in this book to my life? So overall, I thought that it was just very easy to apply.
Mhm.
It's the way that it was worded. I'll be sitting there and I'll think of one of the scenarios that he brings up, um, where what he's talking about was used in a practical sense. And I'm like, okay, well now how can I apply that to myself? And I was even thinking about that today when I went to the gym. I was like, okay, well, here's one of the things that I do. It's one later in the book they talk about 2-minute habits. Here's one of the 2-minute habits that I do that I didn't even realize that I do, and it is crucial to me getting a good workout in. So that was really cool. But yeah, overall, absolutely loved it, and I will probably be referring back to it again. But what about you? What did you think about it overall?
Um, so I originally picked this book because it was recommended to me a couple years ago, and I had started it, but I never really like dove into it because I was like, oh, it was pretty good, but it wasn't something that I was like keen on. Something because I wasn't like so focused on developing my life of creating good habits. It was that time and phase where I was out drinking and having fun and you know what you do when you're 21 and you're just having a great time. And
Yeah.
then when we came up with the idea to pick a book, each of us to pick a book, and we came up with self-development for January, I was like, okay, now's the time to go back to that book and really pull from it, sit down and read it. And I'm so glad I did because, you know, now that we're getting older and now that my mindset is shifting towards other goals, it's a great way to reset and learn how to
Mhm.
reset habits or create habits that I've been working on but haven't been worked out or haven't worked out because I um, kind of just let it go. I think I saw the other day that halfway through January, most people give up on their New Year's resolution.
Yeah.
So
Checks out.
you yeah, it does check out. You go head on strong for 2 weeks and then you're like,
Yeah.
nah, this ain't it because you're doing such a drastic change. So
Yeah.
with Atomic Habits, it talks about changing little things over time to get to the bigger picture, to the bigger goal. So overall, love the book. I definitely learned a lot more this time than I did when I tried to read it a couple years ago, but ended up just pushing it to the side. So
Yeah.
I would overall it was a really great read.
Awesome. Yeah. I love that. I absolutely love that. Yeah, I will say going an easy way to see it. Yeah, like going to the gym is so much easier now because all of like
Hmm.
it's sad, but like all the people that quit on their New Year's resolutions by now,
Yeah.
it's not as
Not all the
packed.
machines are taken up. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, but
Hmm.
also I don't know when it happened. I'm sure I'm gonna look back and I'm gonna see it. I spilled coffee all down myself. I don't I have no
Okay,
idea how.
so
Also,
just so everyone's wondering what we're wearing, when we were Scotland? I think
it
it
was
was
Scotland.
Scotland. Okay,
Yeah.
so in Scotland, we were waiting to get our luggage and everybody. We're waiting on my boyfriend and her mom to get back from the restaurant because we had to go and rush to get the luggages. Well, I was eyeballing these Snuggies, and I was like, how cool would it be for all four of us to have a Snuggie to wear on the train back? So I surprised everyone. I picked these out for, based off of what I think they would like. So for me, I got pandas.
So cute. For
What about
me,
you?
I have llamas, which is so funny. All I can think about when I wear this, anytime I wear this, aside from the fact that it's freaking adorable, um,
Hmm.
and so cozy. All I can think about is Napoleon Dynamite when he's like, because all of these are Tina's in my eyes. Like all I
Yeah,
can think of
yeah.
is like, Tina, you fat lard, come get your dinner. Like that's all I can think about. I love it. And then my
That's
mom,
awesome. Hmm.
my mom wears hers every single day.
I
Like in the morning she wears it, and then at night she wears it. Because it's like her favorite little cozy thing that she does during her quiet time. So
I love that.
everyone gets a lot of use out of these. These are the best thing
Good.
ever.
That's good. Yeah, and Colin, he actually came over the other day and I was like, you don't wear your Snuggie. I was like, "Do you want to take it home?" And he goes, "No." And I was like, "Yeah, take it home." So now he wears it all the time.
Yeah, his is
When I
cute too.
call
His is
him,
a
he's
Rick and
like,
Morty one.
"Yeah, his is Rick and Morty." I was like, "Oh my gosh, this fits him," because he's obsessed with that show. So
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty fitting. And I think your mom has like a moon design, I believe.
Yeah, hers is like
Hmm.
it's like a salmon color, and it has like moon. It's kind of very
Yeah.
hippie-ish. Yeah, it's very
Yeah,
cute.
that's how I picture your mom, just like very
Like easygoing. Cause she
easygoing
is.
and
Like she just
chill.
yeah,
Yeah.
in Scotland and London, she was just like, yeah, I'm just here for the ride, like she was
Hmm.
very chill the whole time. It was a lot of fun. Oh man.
Yeah.
She texted me, was it this morning? I don't know. The past 2 days have been a blur because I've been sleeping. I slept for 14 hours. But because I was flipping my schedule from night shift. But she texted me and she was like, hey, because I haven't seen her. I've seen her once since the new year. And she texted me and she was just like, "Hey, I just wanted to remind you, not that long ago, we were sitting in London and Scotland, and it was so much fun, and I love and miss you." And I was like, "Ah, you're right, we were." It was so sweet, yeah. But man,
Seems
I
like
do.
years ago, but
I know it's been so long already, but yeah. Oh, yeah, good times, good times. I loved it. So, one of the biggest things that I kind of took away from this whole book, well, overall, just for those of you who haven't read it, who are thinking about reading it, it is a book on how small changes in your life, like hardly noticeable. Like, it's not, this massive thing where you're going to change your life and starting the next day, your whole life is going to be different. It's small changes that you can make now that are actionable and that you can actually slowly make progress in your life. And over time, those different changes will compound and you'll have a different life entirely from the one that you have now, if that's something that you desire. So it starts out with like this idea of all of these tiny little changes that you can make, and then it gives you a step-by-step process on how to implement them, which is huge because saying, oh, you just need to take tiny little steps and like tiny little habits, that's one thing. But then actually like how he describes it and how he tells you how you can apply it is a totally different thing, and it's very helpful. So right off the bat, there's like this concept that he was talking about, like just this surprising power of atomic habits. And I would like when I was thinking about it, I was thinking about specifically in the past, I've done 75 hard, which
mhm.
if you don't know what that is, I'm not going to explain it here. Go look it up. Everyone's probably heard of it in some way now, but it's 75 hard. And it kind of, 75 hard is a drastic change. So it's kind of the opposite of this idea, but it's also a really quick and easy, tangible way. Quick in the sense of atomic habits are meant to be years and years, where 75 hard is 75 days that can change your life. But the drastic difference that changing things in your life can make on a day-to-day basis. When I did 75 hard, I went from being someone who didn't enjoy the gym at all, someone who had terrible skin, terrible hydration, terrible discipline, to someone that was able to fit all of the rules of 75 hard into one day, which seems impossible, especially when you're as busy as I was. And this idea of changing that and taking it down a notch and make, because right now 75 hard is not possible in my life. But atomic habits, where I can make those small changes and implement those small
Mhm.
changes to make a drastic difference in my life, that is possible. So it was just a really cool thing I realized that
And
this is just a more long-term solution to changing your life for the better. I don't know if you have any experience of that.
of doing little changes in my life.
Hmm.
So to kind of like tie into the book, one of the things that really resonated with me or kind of taught me was when he talks about an airplane, right? And you're going towards your destination, but if you shift little by little, little degrees, you're going to end up somewhere completely different in the long run, right? So even if you were to just shift like little degrees, and it doesn't have to be such a big drastic change because you're just going to burn yourself out and you're going to be like, why am I doing this? I'm tired. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. So one of the things that we like to influence others is our overall health, right? So, um, and that can be from mental health to physical health. And one thing with mental health with me is a lot of people are like, oh, I need to go to therapy. Therapy is, a huge step up.
Yeah.
But however, some people aren't ready for that step. Some people aren't ready to just jump right in and talk to a stranger and dump their whole life or even working that into their schedule. Some people are just not meant to do that. So what I started doing was for my mental health, because the end goal is, yes, eventually I would like to get back into therapy and work on things, but if I can do little shifts now to help me where at the place I am right now, because I travel everywhere, so it's really hard to stay in one area and find someone to talk to for 3 months and then bounce. So I just started with writing writing a note a day, writing a note
Mm,
to myself, whether it's
yeah.
something positive or something I need to get out, even if it's just copying a quote. It still resonates. I'm still taking the time and just sitting with myself and kind of reflecting.
Yeah.
So eventually, because a lot of there's, I think there was, I think you had recommended writing until you can't anymore, like three
Yeah,
pages. I
the
think
artist's way.
yes, the artist's way. And to
Yeah.
me, at first, I'm like, oh my God, that's such a good idea where I could just ramble and write. And then I tried that for 2 days and I'm like, this is tedious. Like
Oh, and it
writing,
takes so much time.
it takes so much time. Exactly. And I'm like, I don't even, like, I like to talk, but I don't even know what to talk about, even if it's just to
Yeah.
ramble about little things. So then I started with the little notes, and then from the notes, I went to like maybe half a page, and then to a page. And sometimes, even if I don't feel like writing, I'll take out a voice note and I'll just,
Mhm.
record myself ranting. So
Yes, this is
little,
such a good example of atomic
yeah,
habits because it's again that like all or nothing mentality is broken where like
yeah,
because I remember when I was doing the artist's way, I don't know if it takes this long for everybody, but for me, it would take me like I would have to sit down and do nothing for 2.5 to 3 hours to finish my full quiet time. And I know
hmm
you're not like even if you don't know what you're supposed to be talking about, you're supposed to just write like I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say, like over and over again until something pops into your brain. But that takes a lot of time. And saying, oh, well, I'm just not going to do it at all. And then going back to your old ways is going to get you
right,
nowhere. But if you do what
right,
you said, where you're like, okay, I'm going to write down at least this quote because that's what I have time for. That's what I have the mental space for.
hmm
You're still making a step and making progress towards where you want to go. And you're
right.
right. Like going to therapy and having to switch a therapist every 3 months, that's almost worse
Then
than
just to not go, right?
than just to not
Yeah,
go because then you're having to re-explain everything and then you're
right.
reliving everything and then it's just shitty. Like that is not what you want to be
Like,
doing. So
and it takes 3 months to get comfortable with one, and by the time you get comfortable, it's like, okay, you gotta get up and leave.
I
Next
know.
one. Thanks
I
for
feel
a
like
good
I
time. Bye.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like I just got comfortable enough with mine. Like now I like give her a hug at the end of our sessions and everything. But like
Yeah.
it took me a long time to feel like that. And I just Like she felt like a stranger until recently. So yeah, girl, I get that. Like you do not want to go through that every 3 months at
No, you
all.
don't. So this is like a great way to incorporate little atomic habits into
I
it.
love
So
that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I was just thinking about that. I was like, oh man, that's a good point to bring up because
Yeah.
even just writing 3 pages, you dread, you dread it. Then
Yeah.
it becomes a negative. Then it
Yep.
becomes something you don't want to do, and it's like, okay, I'm not going to do that anyway, so
Yeah.
whatever. So it's like saying F that, F my mental health, but there are other ways to accommodate and make accommodation for your lifestyle, not because everyone else is doing it, but what works for you is the
Hmm.
biggest thing I pulled from the book too.
I love that. Yep, I
Hmm.
agree. That actually kind of applies a little bit to the end, like one of the end chapters, to a degree about the whole
Hmm.
genetics thing, but we'll get into that in a minute. But yeah, I definitely agree. Like find what works for you and what is applicable in your own life. But it's not going to look the same as everybody else's, and you got to find what's going to work for you in order to make it stick. But yeah, I will say like I mean, there were so many things. So I'm gonna have to skip through some of these because it's just too much. Ultimately, go read the freaking book. It's really worth it. Really worth it. Um, but yeah, oh, this was one of the things that I saw. Okay, so for those of you that don't know, I was in sales for like a split second. For a split second, I was in a sales position. Um, I liked the idea of being in sales, but I am not a salesperson, and I I couldn't stand myself when I was in sales. So that's why I
Hmm.
had to quit. Like I couldn't
Hmm.
stand who I was when I was in sales. Um, I liked the progress and the people that I was with. The people that I was with were epic. They were amazing. My team, like I've never grown so much as a person in such a short period of time than when I was in this position. But I made no money. I made no money. It didn't fit my personality, and I hated talking on the phone and trying to force people to get something that they didn't really want. So but at the same time, I did learn a lot when I was in that position. And one of the things that comes up a lot in sales is, and I'm going to read this passage on page 24. A handful of problems arise when you spend too much thinking about your goals and not enough time designing your systems. So, in if you spend like for me, I sometimes will get caught up in the fancy schmancy like planning side of life and I won't get busy on the action side. So I'll be like, okay, well, I have a beautiful plan set up. I have this all makes sense on paper. But then I'll get into life and I won't actually do it. Like things will come up, I'll give myself an out, I'll quit. This comes to like literally every aspect of my life. I will just be like, that's too much. I'm done. Um,
Yeah.
and it never works out. But if you give yourself tiny little goals, it makes it so much more applicable and so much more manageable. And then you find yourself getting excited and proud of, oh, well, I accomplished this little thing. Oh, I did this little thing,
Right.
and it allows you to take those steps and those advancements. Whereas saying, oh, I'm going to do all of this, and then you don't do any of it, then you're like, okay, well, tap out. I'm just going to be the person who I was before. So
Because you overwhelm yourself too with
yeah.
everything. You want to put a lot on your plate, and then you're like, oh, I do it, and you plan it out, and then you're like, yes, never
You
mind.
coming for me, Chloe? Are you coming for
No,
me?
no,
No,
I'm
no,
not
I'm kidding. That's so
but
me.
in general, because I do that too, and
Yeah.
to kind of tie it in with goals and things that we want to do, this podcast. It came up as an idea.
Yeah.
I think I want to say October,
The idea? Yeah.
September. The idea was like we came up with it, I think September timeframe. We're like, hey, we
Yeah.
should do a podcast because I think that's when we started
It
FaceTime each
was.
other and like drinking. We're like, oh my God, what if we did a podcast?
Yeah, it
And
was
so
around September because that's when life was fucking shitty and we
yeah,
talked a
yeah.
lot.
Yep. And so we were just like, we should do a podcast and influence others to do this. But then we kind of fell off. Like we went so hard one day and we're like, okay, we're gonna plan. We planned it out. And then came October. And then came November. And then came December. And we're
Yeah.
like, hold on.
Yeah.
We
Well,
wanted
it also was because like life was so crazy
so
for both of us at
busy.
the time. Like
Yeah.
both of us were gonna be, there was gonna be no time. So we had to
Right.
realistically evaluate and be like, okay,
And
are we going to be able to do this? How are we going to actually make this happen? So we had to get together and be like, okay, well, in January we're going to make this
mhm.
happen and just give ourselves time. Which I think it's cool that we actually stuck with it. Like we had this
Yeah,
idea,
me
we
too.
talked about it, we started taking the steps, and then in January we were like, okay, time to
Time
move
to
forward.
actually do it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like where I'm tying it and correlating with what you're talking
Yeah.
about, because it's like we come up with this idea and we're like, we want to do it, we want to do it, we want to do it. We plan it, we have it all planned out, but then it's like, okay, we're talking the talk, but we're not taking it, we haven't really jump started because of life stuff, because of unrealistic. I think at first it was very unrealistic. We were like, oh, we should do a podcast a week or blah, 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 you
We
know?
didn't even think about like what was going to be needed.
Exactly. We didn't really think about the nitty gritty. And then when I was pondering about it, I was like, man, that's a lot of work. Considering that we're both busy, we're both in school, we both work full
Yeah.
time, and we're wanting to start a podcast. So, our little atomic habit was, okay, let's choose what we want to do. Let's choose only 2 dates. One will be a book talk and one will be a just a tipsy chat. And
Yeah.
I feel like this is a great way for us to also incorporate atomic habits into our new podcast, our new
Hmm.
business. I'd like to say, Tipsy Babes, and
Yeah.
apply it. And
Yeah.
it also keeps us accountable for reading 2 books a month. So
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
yeah.
And it's a really good way for us to get together and connect
Hmm.
and I don't want to get away from our friendship, of course. Like I don't
Right.
want it to be all business, but it's also a really good way for us to be intentional about our friendship and be like,
Hmm.
okay, well, now we're going to get together and we're going to chat and we're going to have these conversations, which already from one of the the first podcast, I learned so much about you. So,
Right.
I think it's
Yeah, same
it
here.
has really cool payoff as well.
So yeah, it comes with
But
a whole a lot of benefits too, but even
yeah,
just being realistic with what can work out in your life and
yeah.
how can it accommodate you is the biggest part and a big takeaway, because if you try and do a drastic change and try and do, I say yes, shoot for the stars, but don't go sprinting because you're going to burn yourself out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah, and there were a lot of really good pieces. Like one of the things that I think was the most impactful to me was this idea that identity, that your habits can be tied directly to your identity. So how you speak to yourself and how you identify yourself will correlate with the habits that you participate in your life. So for example, and this is a big one for me, this one I was thinking about it this morning, and I wrote a note on it and was like, I kind of feel like I should talk about this. Um, when I was in nursing, I actually left nursing for a sales position for a little while, and I have always wanted to be a nurse. I've wanted to be a nurse since I left high school, and I've been slowly taking the steps to get there. I let myself get distracted and like sidetracked a lot, but eventually, but when I switched over my MOS in the Army to become a nurse, which is how we met, things started to change. I left nursing school or graduated nursing school, and I got my dream fucking job. I got my dream job. I was a CVICU nurse as an LPN, and I thought that was like I thought I made it in life.
I remember.
Yeah,
You were
I
so
was
set and
so
so excited about it too.
yeah, I was so excited. And then I got there and I watched the nurses perform. I saw the caliber of nurse that make it on the floor, and I started talking to myself so negatively and thinking I could never be them. I am stupid. I am not a good nurse. I made a few mistakes, which all nurses do. They were not like detrimental mistakes. And honestly, I did more good things than bad things as a nurse, but I let those things that were negative get me down so much that after 3 months, I quit. Like, day of, quit, never went back. I handed in my badge and was like, peace out, I'm never coming back. Part of that was the work environment. I'm not gonna lie. Like the work environment was so toxic and terrible. I think that's changed a lot. I've talked to a few people on that floor and I think it's changed a lot. But I couldn't stay. I couldn't
Yeah.
stay. Like part of the reason why I was feeling those things was because of some of the trainers there and some of the nurses there. Like the whole nurses eat nurses alive. Like like
It's true.
it's so true. It's so true. It's terrible to watch
They prey on the young.
nurse culture. Yeah, they
Hmm.
eat their young. So, there was a lot of that. But I will say, I think I could have persevered no matter what if I had spoken to myself with um, a different idea. If I spoke a different identity into myself, like if I would have said, I am going to be a great nurse, I am a great nurse, I work really hard, all those things instead of thinking, I can never do this. Like I would wake up and I would drive to work, and on my drive, I would listen to Five Finger Death Punch. I would hate my life, and I would be like, I'm never gonna make it. I'm never gonna make it. I'm never. And what do you know? A couple weeks later, I quit. So what you say to yourself and how you identify yourself, that's going to make a difference in what you do. Um, so I quit nursing because of that, partially. I won't give all credit to that, but how you speak to yourself is important. If I say I'm a strong woman and I decide to move forward with some of these competitions that I'm doing, if I were to say, yeah, I'm not going to be able to do that, I'm not capable of doing that, I am not a strong person, that's going to take over my life and that's going to overwhelm my mind and I'm never going to be successful. But if I can say to myself, I'm going to be successful in this, I am a strong woman, I can be competitively strong, you know, that's going to take root in my mind, and then it's going to propel me to work harder and move forward and be someone who collects habits that get me to the end result. So I think that was really, really important. It brought me back to nursing a little bit, and
Mm.
it wounded my pride a little bit this morning when I saw that, but ultimately, sorry about that. The lighting was weird. But ultimately, I think it's going to be very important moving forward, knowing that how you speak to yourself is, and how you identify yourself is going to make a difference in the habits that you decide to take on.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like a mind over matter thing. And
Yeah.
honestly, they always say you take life experiences and you run with it. And I think this is a really good self-reflection,
Hmm.
of how it was going through nursing. And, it's not the easiest in healthcare. Like I tell everybody, it's worse than high school, to be honest with you.
Oof. Yeah.
Everyone's judging you,
The
everyone's staring at
drama.
you. And so even though you're negatively talking down to yourself, it's also the environment that you're in.
Hmm.
So maybe at that point in time, you weren't, ready for that. You weren't
Hmm.
ready to be exposed to the toxicity or
Yeah.
to be able to work in that environment. And now that you've grown so much since then, it's been 2 years,
Hmm.
or I think almost 2 years now since you did that
Yeah.
job.
Well, I did it last.
Well, this year,
Oh
right?
yeah, 2 years.
Yeah, you're going on
I
two
left in
years since you
September
did
of
that job.
2022. I left in September of
Right,
2022. So yeah.
right. So you
So a
saw
year and a half.
something, year and a half going on two.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll just whatever. Year and a half. Okay.
Yeah.
So going from a year and a half ago of an experience where you're, surrounded by toxicity, surrounded by negativity, and I like to think that you become what you surround yourself with, what
Yeah.
influences you. And
Hmm.
although that was your dream job, you thought that was your dream job, maybe it wasn't for you, right? Maybe
Hmm.
that environment wasn't for you. Maybe that
Yep.
hospital wasn't for you. So now that
Yep.
you're kind of came out and went through sales, and now you have a wonderful job, you love your job, and I'm sure it wasn't something that you thought you'd see yourself in,
Yeah.
right?
No, not at
It
all. And
Not
not
at
at all.
all, but it gave you that courage to build up of like, wow, I'm a really good nurse because you take care of her, you accommodate her, she's healthy and she's alive and she just looks
It's
like the
very
sweetest little
fulfilling.
girl. It's
She
very fulfilling.
is.
Yeah,
She
she looks
is.
like the
She's the
sweetest little
best.
girl.
Yeah.
Exactly. So now that you're
I
chase go ahead.
yeah. Oh well, it's exactly where I need to be. Like where I
Hmm.
was it more challenging? Like mentally challenging, and as a nurse, was it more challenging? Yes. Do I like that? Yes. But the environment overall killed my desire to be a nurse. And you have to weigh it.
Right.
Is it better to be like, okay, I don't want to be a nurse anymore because this environment is so terrible and like
Or
that
maybe
is
that
just terrible,
environment is just not for you.
or just not for me, right? Or
Right.
can I go to this other thing that I never thought that I would do and it reignited my passion for
Hmm.
nursing and now I'm going back to school to get my RN. That's huge.
Exactly.
Like, are you going to
Hmm.
stay in the environment that makes you hate your life and your job and your profession that you chose, or are you going to go to something that maybe you thought you would never ever do because maybe for me, and this is terrible, but in my opinion I thought ICU was the elite and then home health was a cop out. That's
Right.
terrible mindset. I trust me, if you're a home health nurse, I think you're the best thing ever. Now that I've done it and I see how much of an impact it makes on people's lives, I think
Hmm.
it's such a beautiful profession. And I personally don't know that I'll ever, no, I will leave it because home health nursing can also be one of the most challenging types of nursing because of how many different environments you have to enter, which can
Hmm.
be so gross and so terrible, but then also the
Right.
best thing ever, like with working with Stella. So there's lots of different things. But that what you're saying actually goes back into one of the chapters that he was talking about. It's called The Role of Family and Friends in Shaping Your Habits. And who
Hmm.
you surround yourself with can shape your motivation to accomplish your habits. So
Right.
like if you surround yourself with people who like to, okay, well, this is a terrible example, but if your goal is fitness and you decide to hang out with people who like to go eat in and out all the time, are you really going to accomplish your fitness goals? If you are someone who likes to hang out with people who value their health and value their fitness, are you going to be more fit? Probably.
Hmm.
If you are surrounding yourself with people who love nursing or love being a surgical tech, are you probably going to adopt the mindset of, oh my gosh, I love my job? Or are you going to be negative Nancy when you walk into the OR and be like,
And
oh, I fucking
nobody
don't want to
is.
be here?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, and you can, there's always the person who has the ability to go against the status quo and be the positive person out in that environment, but that's
Hmm.
very rare. So I feel like you're probably one of the rare ones who, no matter what anyone says, you're gonna be like, girl, I love being a surgical tech, fuck off. But not everyone does
well,
that.
okay, so to kind of bounce off of that, I worked a staff job for a year, right? And
Hmm.
at first I was like, oh my God, I love this so much. Like, I love my job. And, I was still learning and everything was just new to me. And I love being challenged and I love new
Yeah.
things. But since then, people see that you're good, they take advantage of you, right? Or they
Ooh,
don't
yeah.
like you and they
Yeah.
just negatively talk about you, right? And so that was one of the reasons why I left my staff job, because I was like, okay, well, obviously I'm good, versatile in any situation you throw me in, whether it's general surgery, OBGYN, orthopedics, whatever, you name it. Although it may be the first time I do it, but the next time I'm going to do even better because I challenge myself like that. But I was just surrounded by negativity and it was just eating me up and eating me up, and my mental health just went down the drain. And I'm like, I love my job. Why am I feeling like I don't want to go to work? The minute you feel like you don't want to go to work or you're dreading to go to work, it's time for a change. So what did I do? I dropped an application and I was like, fuck it, I'm going to upstate New York, from the bottom of Louisiana all the way up to upstate New York. Don't know what's going to happen, but it's going to be the move. And
Yep.
so I went there and it was so fun. I had a really great time. But then there, but then some nurse decided to, some of them didn't like me because it was a smaller facility. There wasn't a lot of people,
The drama.
the drama just got too much. So guess what? I'm only here for the amount of times I signed for. Then I bounced
Yep.
and went to Charleston. Went to Charleston, met a lot of great people, met a lot of great surgical techs who loved their job, who loved
Hmm.
traveling, who loved to go out and do things. And
Yeah.
it helps me with self-identification of like, okay, yes, I love my job, but I also need to learn how to enjoy my life and not let other people just negatively impact me. And that's the beauty about traveling, is
Hmm.
you don't get caught up in the bullshit. And guess what?
Yep.
you're only there for 13 weeks. So if you want to extend and you love the place, go ahead, by all means. But if you don't, that's okay too. You can
Yep.
bounce and go. And I love that because I
Yep.
hate drama. I hate negativity. And it just like eats me alive. And I'm just like, there's so much more to life than you just hating on somebody
Yeah.
or making their life hard. So that's just my
Yeah.
little two
This
cents
is
with that.
this is your sign to move or travel or do something different.
Yes,
So,
yes. If you're coming to a point where you're dreading, you're waking up and even getting out of bed to go to
yeah.
your job, that is a sign for you to change. And it's okay to change. You don't have to stay in one job for the
Yep.
rest of your life. And even if
Yeah.
it's a career too, if you are feeling like you're drained and it's just not fulfilling, it's
Yeah.
okay to have a career change. No one
Yeah.
said you had to go to school to do this one job for the rest of your life. No one said
Yeah.
that.
Yep.
Is it a society thing that they, implement on everybody and everyone's like, oh, I have to go to school. Oh, I have to do this. Oh, I needed. No, you don't.
Yeah.
It's not they're not living your life.
Yep.
So why are you
Exactly.
pleasing someone else? That's
Yep.
just my 2 cents.
No, I agree. And I think that a little bit of a side note, like you don't have to have it all planned out to start making those steps, you know? Like
Right.
I'm sure when you decided to switch positions and be like, okay, well, I'm going to be you know, a travel surgical tech now. I'm sure you weren't like, okay, and these are all of the things that I have to have set in stone before I can do that. No, you just went for it and let things fall in place as they would.
And figure
So
it
that's a
out as you
huge thing
go.
too. Yeah. So
Hmm.
like, don't stress. Like if you that's something that I've had to apply a little bit, in my life too. Like don't overthink it. Just start taking the steps, and if it's where you're supposed to be going, things will fall into a place a little bit on their own. But getting yourself to where in those like with those atomic habits and setting yourself up for success in that way, maybe it's mental health, maybe it's um, physical health, maybe it's whatever. If you start setting yourself up for success in those tiny little habits, then the overall big picture will start to fall into place as well, and you're going to feel that sense of pride and that sense of understanding in yourself. You're not going to feel so lost, like you're wandering around like aimlessly in life, because that's, I think, the worst thing and the worst feeling ever. If you feel like in life you're walking around and you're just wasting time, or you're just, you're not getting where you want to be, that is a sign to move the fuck on, because
Yep.
life
It
is way too fucking short to be feeling like you're wasting time in it. Like you need to like take those steps, find out where your purpose is, what makes you excited, what makes you happy, what makes you feel like you are, you're doing the right things for yourself. Find those things and do those fucking things, because if you're not feeling
mhm.
that way, like you're gonna look back on your deathbed or whatever, and you're gonna be like, man, I wish I would have done something differently at that time. So
Right.
that's
You shouldn't just exist to life.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Don't
And
just
of course,
exist.
right. And of course, everyone's situation is different, whether
Yeah,
you work or you have kids or you're a stay-at-home
yeah,
mom or, every role is important when it comes to raising kids, I think,
yeah. Oh yeah, and that's where mindset comes into
but
play too, because I think like if you're if you're feeling that way, it's either a mindset thing that needs to change or it's a physical thing that needs to change. So like if you're
right.
feeling that way, how can you reframe your mind so that you find purpose in what you're doing and find fulfillment if you can't change it? Like if you are stuck where you were at and you are actually stuck where you were at. And I shouldn't say stuck, because that might not be the right word. But if where you are at is a place that you cannot leave and you cannot change that, how can you reframe your mind to wake up every day and feel like it's a purposeful day rather than feeling like, oh, I'm wasting my life? Yeah.
Right. And putting yourself first because it's very important. Like, even if you're a mom and you have to take care of a toddler, if you're not putting yourself first, your mental health first, you're not really showing up for your toddler. And
Yeah.
and thinking back, like, as kids, you can tell when your parent isn't putting themselves first, when you can tell that they're just putting a face on.
Yeah.
And you think that you're doing what's best for your child or for whoever you're raising, but in the reality of it, if you look at back as an adult, you can see. and that
Yeah.
affects us, that affects your child. We can tell, and then we carry it on into our relationships or onto, how we parent, and it's like, oh,
Yeah.
I just need to put on a face and my kids will be fine. Like, no, we can tell,
No.
and you're human beings. And
Yeah.
even incorporating atomic habits, like making little changes, even if it's, here, take the child, I need to take 20 minutes to myself.
Hmm.
I need to do some self care. I need to take care of me so I can take care of you.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, that's really good. I don't know how to speak too much on parenting because I mean, I'm not a parent, but I can speak on being a child of a parent
Yeah.
that maybe like yeah, everyone can speak on being a child, like being the child in
Right.
a house where they grew up, maybe not feeling like they had um, their parents show up in the way that they needed. And there's
Hmm.
obviously like that's impossible to show up in the perfect way at all times. So there's some grace that needs to be offered there for parents, no matter what, because every one of us faces something, even if it seems like the best and most beautiful household. There's something that everyone faces. But yeah, like I will say like a lot of times if a parent seems like they aren't like I think a lot of there's like this guilt like if I say oh I need time for myself there's this guilt involved or
Hmm.
even in regular like for me if I'm like I can't go visit family right now because I have no energy to do that like I feel like I know if I hang out with friends or family I'm going to show up just out of obligation rather than out of being the person that I want to be for them or that they need me to be. And if I show up in that way, then I'm going to be doing them a disservice. Like they're going to feel like I'm a bad
Right.
friend. They're going to feel like I don't want to be there. They're going to catch the side of me that's not very pretty. It's going to be very, it's just going to do more harm than good. But
Hmm.
if I say, nope, now's not the time, I'm going to focus on what I need to focus on and be a better person in myself and be a better person for them, then when I am ready, I can enter um, that situation and actually show up in a purposeful, meaningful way and not
Right.
in a
Then just
obligatory
showing up.
way.
And it could be even just you have a lot going on, because something that you've taught me, and I think it's because of what your dad said, it was like, if you have too much going on in your mind and you have a lot to do, but your friends want to go out and you end up going out, the whole time you're just going to be thinking about what you need to do, right?
Hmm.
So then just learn to say no and do what you got to do, so then you could be present for the next time you want to hang out, or
Hmm.
say, hey, can we do a little later, I need to focus on this. And that's
Hmm.
something that you've told me that's really stuck with me, is like, if you're not going to be, if you have a lot going on and there's something that you need to work on, whether it's work or even something mentally, emotionally,
Yeah.
if you're not, if you're with someone else, you're not going to be present, because you're just going to be
Yeah.
thinking about everything else that's going on in your mind.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and even in I will say, like, even in, I think, relationships, whether that be like platonic or romantic
mhm.
relationships, if you show up, and I don't know if it was my dad or not. I don't recall. Might have been. My dad's very wise. That probably was something that he said.
It was back in
But,
like San Antonio,
oh,
because
really? Then it
because
probably
I,
was.
because I had asked you, because it was after your parents had like moved you in or whatever, and I had
Mhm.
asked you if you wanted to come hang out, but you had like schoolwork or something. You're like, oh no, I can't. Something that I learned from my dad is like, if I have something that I need to do, I'm not going to be present, and you don't
Ah.
deserve for me to not be present.
Oh, wow. Man, that's
Hmm.
a flashback. Okay. Yeah, I can see that. I can definitely see that. But yeah, I will say, like, romantically or in platonic friendships or whatever the case may be, if you are showing up and you're distracted by whatever's going on, that's going to present in the ugliest way with
Hmm.
that person. So, like, for example, like for me, there have been times in the past couple of weeks where I have been talking to a friend or whatever, and I show up in not a pleasant way because I'm so
Hmm.
overwhelmed and I'm so in my mind.
Hmm.
Um, and I'm letting my need for like not offending them by not talking to them, or my own dependence on talking to this person or these people, I'm letting my own dependence on that dictate whether or not I communicate with them. When really
Right.
the unselfish thing to do would be to separate myself from that situation and that those conversations and those participations, and say, pause. I need to work on what I'm doing so I don't hurt me and you. Um,
Right.
and that can be dramatic or it cannot be dramatic. So like in a dramatic way, that can be like I actually cause problems for this person. In a non-dramatic way, it could just mean that I'm no fun to hang out with. Like, so recognizing that and being self-aware is key, especially in habits or in anything. Being self-aware and
Mm,
being able to reflect. And usually that means pausing. And I think in this book and in the other book, pausing and understanding yourself and being self-aware is key for everything. Everything.
right.
So yeah, that's definitely important, but I don't know. That's a little bit of a tangent, but I think it's also key and also important. So,
It's something that you
but
learned and you pulled from, and you're applying
yeah.
it. Just because it says this one way doesn't mean you can't apply it to any other aspect of your life. So,
Hmm.
and that's the beauty of this book is it gives you a solid foundation of
Hmm.
where to start. And where you go from there is on you.
Right.
You know, how you do it, what you do, it is all self-inflicted. Like you have control over that.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I love the book and it's a really
Yeah.
great one to even go back to. Even if you don't necessarily reread the whole book, it goes in the I think in the back it tells you where you can find certain things as well
Hmm.
within the
Yeah.
book.
The front and the back. I think the front tells you a decent bit too. So if you're like, man, where did I hear that before? Or maybe I
Hmm.
need to reread this passage. Yeah. Yeah. But there were so many good things about this book. One of the other things that I thought was really good was like different ways to make your habits like more almost more fun. Like how do you find them rewarding, or what can you use to like what will cause a good habit to develop. And I will say, like, this, it brought to mind one of these things. But I don't know if it was you. I know there were a couple of people that I was talking to about this. I don't know if it was you, but um like one of the habits that I wanted to create was the habit of running more. And I remember one day I was sitting at work in the middle of the night, and I had this overwhelming urge to be like, "Oh shit, I need to become a runner. I need to become a runner like yesterday." And I was like, well, why do I need to become a runner? Oh, because if a fucking apocalypse hit, right? Like tomorrow, like if zombies took over, or we had like a what's that new show going around? I can't even remember the one with Pedro Pascal. Like if we had a situation like that, would I be able to outrun a dangerous situation? Fuck no.
Can you survive The
No.
Walking Dead?
No. Girl, no. I would get tuckered out and be like, take me away, like change me right now. But like that's a motivating thing, and I'm not even lying. Like I want to start running so that I can be better if the apocalypse hits. I also want to start learning how to use a crossbow. What's his name? Daryl in The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
I'm gonna channel Daryl.
How
So
to use a
yeah.
crossbow or
Yeah.
or even there's this movie, oh gosh, it came out on Netflix, but it's about couponing. And she basically becomes like this mastermind of yeah, it's really cool. It's really funny too because she's like this little blonde girl who's in an unhappy marriage and she couldn't conceive, so she got into couponing and then she figured out, oh, she can get free coupons if she complains, and then somehow creates like this whole, like, not drugs but couponing where she has multiple free coupons and she sells them. She made like a whole business out of it. Yeah,
I
it's
think
you
I've
should
seen a
check it
clip
out.
of this.
You should
I don't
check
have
it out. It's
Netflix.
ooh, okay. I'm
I
gonna have to
know.
get it for
Red
you.
flags, red flags.
Ugh.
All over.
Ugh.
I don't have Netflix. Yeah,
Oh my God.
I know.
Okay.
Crazy. But yeah,
I'll have to get you on the account so then you can watch it because it's
please.
really good. It was really funny, and
Yeah.
I just went on a tangent, and I don't know where I was going with that, but
Where were we going with that? I was talking
I
about
don't
the
know.
apocalypse. Oh, well, I mean, just picking up good habits because
Oh
you're
yeah, picking up
motivated
good
by
habits. There you go.
disasters.
There you go. But even couponing, stocking up and having all these supplies. Another good movie. I know this is a book review, sorry guys, but another good movie. Actually, it is a book because I read this book in high school. It's called The Road. And it's a movie too, where it's basically like the world has ended and people are just surviving. And there's just one long road that people travel down. And they're going from the north to the south and they're surviving winter. And it's about a boy and his dad and trying to survive. And they're just like so skinny and they find like
Aw.
this house and they find, the people in the house had passed away, but they had a bunk full of stuff and food. So
Yeah, I
that's
feel like I
another
need to
great movie
watch.
you should check out.
Okay, that's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah,
Yeah.
I need to stock up on that anyway. I needed recommendations. So,
It's a good book too if you want to read it.
okay. Well, you know I'm a book girl, so I'll
Yeah.
probably read it. But
Yep.
yeah, so many good things. One of the other things, just as a side note, that he mentions is that if you need to be happy in life, get a dog. So
I've been telling Amber to get a dog for the longest time. We should do a poll if Amber should get a dog. If Amber should get a dog, everyone needs to put a thumbs up. And I'm going to be putting that on all social media platforms
I
for
would
people to
love to get a
vote.
dog. I would love to, but I live in a studio apartment. I work 14-hour shifts. And like on Monday, I got iced in. I slept at work. I don't know if we've even talked about this. I had to stay at work all day long. If I
Oh,
had a
really?
dog, yeah, if I had a dog, I would have had to figure out how to come home. I don't know anyone who lives here. And like the
Guys,
office was closed.
it's called doggy daycare.
Yeah, that's true. I guess that's true. But that's money, dude.
You
Like
don't have a child. Doggy daycare.
I know, you're so right. You're so right. I've thought about it. We've gone through this cycle so many times. I want a
She needs a
dog
companion.
so bad. I do. I feel like it would inflate like my sense. Anyway, we don't need to go
Just like
down that road.
just like kids, what do they say? Oh yeah, there's never a right time, so might as well just do it.
I know, but I don't want to be like a bad dog owner.
You wouldn't.
That would
So,
break my
okay,
heart.
listen. I worked with a surgeon. She's like in her 30s, no kids, no husband. She's living her best life. She's an ENT doctor. She even goes away and travels. Like she was in Africa for I think a month and a half. And she has two dogs. And she always talks about like at the end of surgery, she's like, okay, I gotta wrap this up because I gotta go pick up my dogs from doggy daycare. They even have like a bus where they come and pick up the dogs. So, yes, I don't want to
I
hear, oh,
know.
poor dog, because they could be living their bougie life too.
And you know my dog would too. Like if I got a dog,
hmm
my dog would definitely be living the
He's
bougiest
so
life.
spoiled.
So spoiled. Yeah.
Then we
You know,
can
that
go on
might be a good idea.
hikes. Then we can go to
Oh,
like the big national parks and go on hikes with the dogs.
yeah. That's the step. Like if you want to hike, you have to have a dog. Like
Yeah,
I can't go you
yeah.
can't go on hikes without a dog.
We can't go to Grand Canyon and not have a dog. Like,
You're right. You're right. That's crazy.
it's
No, I
mandatory.
it is. It is. I do need and I thought about this. I'm switching to days in like a month. So that would
So
already be
work
better.
out.
Yeah, I feel like that
Okay,
would be better.
if I
Because
were
the
to
biggest
show up with
thing,
a
carry on.
if I were to show up with a dog for your birthday and just be like, okay, bye, would you really be mad?
I probably wouldn't. If I was, yeah, no, I probably wouldn't, to be honest.
Yeah,
If it was a
so
girl dog, I don't want a boy dog
why?
because I don't want, because in the past I've had boy dogs and they hump everything. Whereas a female dog, I
Well, you have
already
to get them
eliminate that
neutered.
problem.
You have to get them neutered.
They still hump.
Okay,
Promise.
but girl dogs, you have to worry about periods.
Not if they're neuter or not if they're spayed. They don't have periods if they're spayed.
That's true.
Yeah. But yeah, if I get a dog, I've already been thinking about this. One, it would either be like an Australian Shepherd, but that's an expensive like specific breed. Honestly, I like the idea of getting like a shelter animal and getting like a black, because black labs are the least adopted, or black dogs in
Really?
general. They don't get adopted
Yeah.
because, and this is rude and mean, and I don't like it, but it's because they're like there's nothing very exciting about the ways that they look. Like an Australian Shepherd looks beautiful, whereas like and a Husky is a beautiful animal. What is it? It's blurry. Chloe, stop it right now.
In St. Louis.
Stop it right now.
Name
I'm
is Bailey. It's a puppy and it's a shepherd.
You're gonna make me cry.
And it's
I will
so
cry.
cute.
I'm gonna cry. Stop
Oh
it.
my god, it's so cute. How
I
can you
can't.
not love that baby?
I
and
do
there's one.
love it.
Just look at his face. I can
I
just see
can't look at his face.
you.
I'll adopt him.
I can just see you and Bailey like hanging out, having a great time.
Me and Bailey. Can I rename it? I really want to name my dog.
Yeah.
I know this is basic,
Well,
but I want
okay.
to name my dog either Sirius or Luna.
But
The
this
Harry
one,
Potter.
but this one is a male medium brown chocolate puppy.
That's so cute, though.
And it's a shepherd.
Medium. It's a male.
Yeah, it's a male.
You know,
He's
I want a dog that's gonna be big. I don't want a nitty bitty dog. I want a big dog
It's gonna
because
be
I'm a
medium.
female.
A medium
Yeah,
size.
and
Like it's gonna be a good size.
yeah, I don't want to. I don't want a small dog. I've decided because I need a dog that's gonna run with me. Stop it, Chloe. Stop. That's cute.
I think you need a
That's
dog. I think you need a good companion.
I do. I
Characteristics:
agree.
friendly, affectionate, smart, playful, brave, curious, funny, loves kisses.
I love kisses.
Bailey is a
That's
very
cute.
active little guy. He is interested in learning everything. He does listen when you tell him no. He does his best to figure out puzzle games and knows to sit for snacks. He is working on figuring out the dog door. His foster sister disappears through there, and he is very excited when she reappears. Bailey loves belly rubs. He will need a family that has a yard, is very active, and spend time with training him.
I like it. Stop it, Chloe.
Bailey's so cute.
Yeah,
Yeah, you need a dog.
I
She's
know.
trying,
I do.
guys.
I
She needs
need
a
a dog.
companion.
I do. I need
Because
a
apparently
companion.
men in Missouri are not the best, so the best companions.
Sorry,
So
that's
she
kind of
needs a.
rude, but yeah, that's kind
Well,
of.
those are your words, not mine.
That's true.
Those are
Yeah,
her words, not mine. She said her future husband is not in Missouri, so
not in Missouri.
sorry to whoever lives in Missouri.
Yeah, I doubt that it's in Missouri. If my future husband is in Missouri, mind blown. Also, where the fuck
Yeah.
you at, man?
Oh my God. Okay, so off topic. Guys, I am so sorry. This is a tangent. I met this travel nurse who I met her in Oshner, and we kind of keep track, and she was telling me that she met a guy at a wedding in St. Louis, and he lives in like but nowhere,
Aw.
Missouri, and he's 30
Sure.
years old, and she's a little older. I think she's like 10 years older than him. Yeah, yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, she's never been married. She doesn't have any kids. She's been traveling as a nurse, and she just
Aw.
got her NP. So she's just been very like career. Okay. Also, the guys she chooses are assholes, but this guy just
Yeah.
seems so sweet, and he's from Missouri, and he owns a farm. So,
Dang, good for her.
maybe your guy is out there farming.
Maybe somewhere random and buttfuck nowhere.
In
Yeah.
but nowhere, with a lot of space for
Maybe.
your dog to run around.
My non-existent dog. Yeah, you're right. Maybe.
Mhm.
But we can talk about some of that stuff in the next podcast because we're going to be talking
Yes! Yes.
about relationships.
It's about to
And
be spicy.
yeah, a little bit more spicy than this one. But yeah, this one overall, great book. Loved it. 5 out of 5. Would read again. Yeah.
And would
So
you recommend it to somebody?
heck yeah, I would. I
Yeah,
definitely would.
I would too.
Yeah.
I would recommend it to everybody who's listening, to all 5 of our followers. Mom, your dad, me and you.
Yeah. I think there's a couple more in there, but yeah. Yeah. No, yeah, that's perfect. But yeah. Yeah, definitely would recommend. Definitely one that like you can even throw it on audiobook and listen
Hmm.
to it as you're like driving around, at the gym,
Yep.
whatever. So definitely would recommend. It was a great read. It's definitely influenced and going to influence how I move forward in my life. So yeah.
Yep.
But
Alrighty. Well, that wraps up this episode. Until next time, cheers, babes.
cheers.